Attack your dreams.
Attack your dreams. Let's go. Attack them. I'm so excited.
Conquer your dreams. No, dang it.
Attack.
Attack.
Come on.
Attack your Hold on. I'm going to record a little sound bite, and then we can just play it whenever we want.
Beautiful.
Hold on.
How should I say it? Attack your dreams.
Yeah.
Just however you normally say it.
Attack your dreams.
Perfect. Let's see.
Attack your dreams.
Nailed it.
Does it keep going? Oh, if you hit it twice, it just goes
Beautiful.
But thank you for having us on the show. I said it twice.
Athletic Assault Podcast, everybody. I'm really glad that you guys are here.
Welcome to the Imperative Narrative Podcast, the show by storytellers, about storytellers, and for storytellers. We're your hosts, Kurt Camphausen.
And I'm Lucas Arnold. Today we're joined on the show by Scott Erwin from Athletic Assault.
Woo!
Yeah.
I'm so excited to be here today.
All right. So you are the most unique guest we've had by far.
I'm the first guest.
Because you are the first
by
guest.
far.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, they recorded a podcast earlier, and I was almost devastated because I thought I was the second guest.
Well.
And selfishly, I want to be the first guest because when this podcast blows up, I want to always be like, Scott Erwin, Athletic Assault, was the first guest on that podcast.
But in reality, what will actually happen is that we will get followers from him, and we'll be like, Scott Erwin helped us be able to be seen by anyone.
He helped us show the world who we are.
Yeah.
Okay. You are the most unique guest, I think, so far that we have booked. And we're really excited about this because you have a fairly large following on Instagram. Tell us a little bit about how Athletic Assault, which is the name of the Instagram account, if you want to give them a follow, Athletic Assault. Tell us a little bit how it started, what your goals and ambitions
26.1K followers as of right now.
6.1K.
Tell us how it started, what it's about.
Yeah. So it's a really interesting story. I went off to college in 2013. I was kind of entrepreneurial in high school. Like my best friend had a band and we booked shows. We burned 3 songs on CDs and sold them to all of our teachers and stuff like that. But didn't really think that I was going to wanted to start a business. But in 2013, during the football season that year, we had there was multiple athletes that beat their fiancés. They were on drugs in the NFL. And I just remember I was sitting there 2013. I was like, man, these are the people that all of these kids look up to. And this is the example that they're setting. The most professional athletes, and they're doing drugs and they're beating up their fiancés. And I was like, we have got to do a better job of discipling and mentoring young athletes who are growing up, who are going to be professional athletes and are going to influence the younger generation. And so that's where Athletic Assault was born. It was actually started so it's funny because NFL players were the big push for me, but I had actually started as a basketball company. If you go back to my first video on YouTube, it's actually a video on how to shoot like Steph Curry. So, so that's a great point. So I was helping a local basketball team. I was shooting videos for how to train for basketball. When it kind of died out a little bit. So 2013 was when the dream was born. And then 2015 was when I released my first video, and I was kind of learning about social media and how to build an audience and things like that. And then it just kind of died. I got engaged at the end of 2015, and we were engaged for a whole year. And I didn't really do anything that year. But I remember right before my wedding, I was like, I'm going all in on this. Once we get married, I'm going all in on what I want to accomplish because I feel like the Lord has called me to this, to impact young men. And so that year, right after that, so we got married in December of 2016, and in January, I launched my YouTube channel full time. But this time I decided that I wanted to do superheroes instead of sports because I wasn't playing basketball anymore. Obviously, I didn't play at a college or professional level. My interest wasn't necessarily there anymore for that, but I love superheroes, and I love the actors who put in so much work. And so that's when I started the superhero fitness kind of deal. And so I was posting a video a week, which, was great, but just not enough content. And then in March, I actually watched a video by Gary Vaynerchuk talking about Instagram. And I was on Instagram personally, but I never thought about using it for business. And so that's when I started that. Then June that year, I was at my granddad's 80th birthday, laying on an air mattress. And I was laying there about to go to sleep. And I was like, I've got to go all in on Instagram. I can't post one time a day. Like, I can't expect this to just grow by just posting sometimes. Like, I've got to go all in. And so from that point on, for a whole year, year and a half, I posted 3 times a day and really started hustling on Instagram. And so, attack your dreams. That's fantastic. That is amazing. And that is what happened. In June of 2017, I started attacking my dreams. And that's where it was born from. And genuinely, got him. Freaking got him.
I did not see that one coming. Oh my gosh. We're going to use that on every episode.
This is so fantastic. I'm literally so pumped that we're doing this.
This is awesome.
So, I'm sorry, this is a long-winded story, but no. All that, and I'll get to where attack your dreams come from in a minute. But anyways, so I started hustling on Instagram, and I just felt like that was where the attention was. Like, that's where people were watching. And so started hustling there and really didn't grow fast. Like, it was a very slow process. Like, I was at probably 3,000 followers by the end of that year. So in 6 months of posting 3 times a day, like, I mean, a lot, like I was spending 4 or 5 hours on Instagram a day. And, you know, like, but then it clicked. Like, I mean, one day it clicked because I was posting content regularly, and all of a sudden I was starting to grow by 200 followers a day or 100 followers a day. And so then it started rolling on up to about 10K, 12K. And then from there, you know, obviously just kept rolling. But even now, like right now, I've kind of teetered off of posting content as much. I post once a day at least, but really, like, I need to step it back up to 3 or 4 times a day because I've seen those numbers drop. But and again, it's interesting because, you know, you hear a number like 26,000, you're like, oh my gosh, like, that's crazy. That's ridiculous. But like, in reality, the depth of your relationships with your followers is so much more important. And like, that's what I learned way early on about growing your audience slowly, because like, you build relationships. Like, there's young guys that I talk to right now. Like, I message with, like, I probably have a message from him right now that like followed me a long time ago. Like, but I built a relationship and provided value for him for so long. And so really the depth of the relationships is so much more valuable than the number of followers, you know? And so that's what I've really seen growing it. But yeah, that's kind of the story of where that's born. And really my aspirations for it is to continue to build a brand and an audience so that I can impact young men, especially through fitness and through athletics as well. I still love athletics. Right after this, I'm going to train a couple athletes at Baptist Prep. Like, you know, like I love athletes, but to really use fitness as a platform to show young men that, hey, you can live a life of integrity and you can attack your dreams. You can go on the offense and you can do whatever you set your mind to. We live in the greatest opportunity, like, in the world. Like, we have iPhones that literally we can talk to millions of people every single day. And I really just want to make it my effort to show people that you can do this. Like, if you put in the work, like, it takes a lot of work. It takes doing a podcast, you know, recording 2 podcasts in a day. Like, but if you do it, the dividends are huge. So that's kind of my story. Sorry, it was a little long.
No, that's awesome. So cool. That's interesting you said that, because like, that's something I was just hearing and thinking about, is like building those relationships deep rather than wide. Yeah. Because a lot of people look at that number and they're like, I want to go for that. Yeah. But it's really, if you could have 100 followers that you know personally and are yours for life, it's a whole lot different than if you have 10,000. Yeah. So like, for you, how do you go about doing that? Like, how do you go about building that depth, especially on a platform like Instagram where it's kind of disconnected in a way, you know?
Absolutely. And I'll say this, like, I responded to, and I still do, I respond to almost every comment that comes to my pictures. I had a picture that I posted back in 2017, the end of 2017, right when I think I was walking in to see Justice League. for the first time, or Thor Ragnarok. One of those at the end of 2017. I'm a big superhero nerd.
Yeah, you are.
So
and we're going to get to that.
See, that's great. When you started talking about sports and stuff, I was like, awesome. Kurt, we'll go with that, and I'll go with the superhero route, and then we'll cover both angles.
Let's just cover all of it. No, and so I was walking into that movie, and I noticed that the picture that I posted earlier had 150 comments on it, and I was like, "Holy crap! Like, what in the world?" I proceeded to, right before the movie, go through and comment back to every single one of those comments. Like, and I think that's a huge pillar moment for me, because that's me taking time. I'm getting chills talking about it because that's me taking time that, you know, I could have just been like, oh yeah, 150 comments. But I took time to go through, and it's not floating, like it's not giving me a big head, but it's like, it's saying that it takes time to build those relationships. And like, I went through and commented back to every one of them, showing them that like, hey, I appreciate you commenting on this, like taking time out of your day to comment on this post. I respond to every direct message that I get. I do some live streams. I really enjoy interacting with my audience. I'm a people person, so I love it anytime I can have a conversation with somebody. And what's great is, you know, all of my family and close friends make fun of me because I say the same stuff on Instagram like all the time. If you follow me for 2 weeks, like, you're going to hear calorie surplus, you're going to hear calorie deficit, and you're going to hear attack your dreams probably every single day. And I love that because people keep asking questions. Like, how do I gain weight? How do I lose weight? How do I lose fat? And like, the answers are calorie deficit, calorie surplus. You know, it's like, and so, but that's me showing like, hey, I'm not going to tell you have a stupid question. Like, hey, I answered this 40 days in a row. Like, go, like, you should just listen. No, I'm not going to say that. Like, I'm going to answer it for you. I'm going to say, hey, you need to be in a calorie deficit. Like, and I think that shows when you can show somebody that you care. I think that makes a huge impact. Like, and I've seen that with people like direct messaging me. Like, they'll say like, hey man, like, thank you so much. Like, they'll start off their message with, hey, I know you probably don't have time. Like, I know you probably get this a lot. And then I respond and they're just like, oh my gosh, like you responded. And it's like, and I'm not big, like 20, like I'm not big, you know? So it's like, but people see it as like, oh my gosh, they probably get hundreds of thousands of messages. Like, and it's like, there's no way they have time to respond. But when you do respond, like it's huge. And that started when I had 10 followers. Like, and that's the important part. That didn't start when I got to 1,000. Like, the reason I got to 1,000 was because I was doing that all the way up. I wish you had a thing. I'm all the way up.
Okay, we can do that right
now. And while he's doing this, we'd like to take time to thank our sponsors.
Yeah.
You're going to record that?
Yeah. I'm all the way up. I'm all the way up. Attack your dreams.
Oh my gosh.
This is going to be so good. Hey, I'm going to be honest. It's going to take probably 87 episodes to top this episode.
Yeah.
So,
by the time we get done with this episode, every single one of these buttons will be filled with just Connor Erwin quotes.
We need a camera from overhead, like showing the board as you push it. In case you can't see it, our board has some little... Yeah, a little mini.
It has some light up buttons.
It has some light up buttons.
Also, there's red and green buttons. So whenever you guys record an episode in December,
to cough and I can.
He just not even himself.
Even in the
gosh, that was
all right. Let's talk about just the entrepreneurship side of this. So, you said you're a people pleaser, or not people pleaser.
I am that person. I really got to work on that too. Can we just turn this into a counseling session for a minute?
Listen, the reason you're here, Connor, is we want to. Yeah. So, but this sort of runs in your family.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, your mom has started a pretty big organization here in Central Arkansas, Project Zero. Yeah. And does that run in like in your siblings? And like, is that just an Erwin family thing?
Yeah. I mean, I think it definitely is. My grandfather, he's not an entrepreneur per se. Like, he didn't start a business, but he was a very big creative person. Like, he was one of the first people. He was a youth pastor, which is funny because I'm a youth pastor now. So, but he was a youth pastor, and he was one of the first people to start using fitness to draw people into church. Like, he was like the CFLC at First Baptist, like here in Little Rock, like the basketball gym and the workout facility. Like, he was the one that started that conversation about getting that in there.
Wow.
So, which is really cool. And so mom and her two brothers are very entrepreneurial. Mom obviously has started a nonprofit called Project Zero, which tries to connect foster kids and orphans with forever families. And so their mission is 1 + 1 = 0. So one kid plus one family equals 0 kids waiting to be adopted. And so she's very entrepreneurial.
But how many siblings do you have?
So I have 3 older siblings. So I'm the youngest biological sibling, and then we have 2 adopted siblings younger than me. So
are they all business owners or?
So they're not. That's a great question. Chase is he actually has this is funny. There's a lot of fitness. I'm actually realizing this as I'm talking to you guys. I didn't realize how much fitness is in my family. Chase actually has his own personal training business that he does out of his garage,
but he works with you on a flank.
So he helps me. Yeah. So he's one of the big motivators for me when it came to fitness. Like he's the one that taught me just about everything I know about fitness. So, and anytime I have a question, I always ask him first because I trust his opinion way more than anybody else's. So, so when I make a workout plan, I always send it to him just to get a fresh eyes on it and see, hey, what would you change here? You know, which is awesome. But yeah, so he has a business out of his gym. My other siblings are not entrepreneurial. I mean, my second oldest brother is entrepreneurial, but right now he doesn't have his own business. But he thinks that way though. So, but I would say my older sister is not entrepreneurial. She is creative. I was thinking about this morning. She probably would be the wealthiest Erwin if she wanted to be, but she just, you know, she's so creative. But
she's gonna watch this and go, thanks, Connor.
She just doesn't want to. She won't watch this. No, she just has a newborn baby. She's not gonna watch this. So, but she is the most creative of us. So, but yeah, other than that, it's really Chase who is the most entrepreneurial. Is the one running a business right now. Yeah. So yeah,
awesome.
One of the things we talked about is like brand, because your business communicates a story to people out there as well. And you've obviously spent a lot of time developing a brand and an audience and stuff. Yes. Tell us a little bit about your brand and what it is now, how it was started, and also what you want it to be.
Yeah. That is a great question. I'm a external processor, so I'll probably just externally process all over this podcast real quick about my brand. So really, attack your dreams is a big pillar of mine. Attack your dreams. I freaking love that so much. But it's a big pillar of mine because I read a book right before we got married, which, let's just be real here, I don't read very often. So it's pretty shocking. It's pretty shocking that I read a book, before this. Man. So I read a book before we got married called In a Pit with a Lion on a Snowy Day by Mark Batterson. Oh, yeah. And it is the story, one of my favorite stories in the Bible, of Benaiah, who he locks eyes with a lion on a snowy day, and he chases it down into a pit, and he kills it with his bare hands, which is freaking epic. But out of that, he goals. I mean, let's be real here. If you kill a lion, like, you're on top of the world. Like, let's be real.
But
or you're a
lion
poacher
in a pit,
or you're a poacher
on a snowy day.
Yeah, that's over the top. Like,
I don't think poachers usually like use their bare hands.
Yeah,
I don't think they want to put that work in.
Yeah, that's true. Let's be real here. That's a true statement. If you're poaching something, you're probably shooting it from really far away. So, all right. But anyways, he goes into the pit with a lion on a snowy day, kills it. And out of that, he then becomes leader of King David's bodyguard. So David and Goliath, he becomes the leader of his bodyguard. Then, once David dies, Solomon takes over, and King Solomon makes him the leader of Israel's army. So, Attack Your Dreams was born out of that story, and it's a pretty crazy way of going about it. But I always saw the lion, and in the book, In the Pit with a Lion on a Snowy Day, he talks about, like, the lion is opportunity. Like, that was an opportunity for Benaiah. He could have turned and ran, like any normal human would have done if they would have saw a lion on a snowy day. Or he could have chased it into a pit with a lion on a snowy day and killed it. he did the latter. And from that, he took that opportunity. He attacked it. He went on the offense. He didn't turn around and go on defense. And out of that, it propelled him into these two other phases of his life where he really stepped up into his career, honestly. And so that's where I get attack your dreams from. Is attacking your dreams means going on the offense. Like, nobody's going to give you your dreams. Like, me sharing this podcast is not going to give you magically, you know, thousands of followers. You know, it's like, but you putting in the work and recording 2 podcasts in a day, like, that is going to start you on that path of building the followers. And so I always tell people, like, going on the offense in your dreams is me putting in work for a year and a half, posting 3 times a day. Like, that's going on the offense, knowing that nobody's going to give it to me. Like, nobody's going to do it for me. I could play defense all day long, and that's what I did from 2013 to 2017. That's exactly what I did. I played defense. I was like, oh, I really want to do this. You know, like, making up every excuse in the book why not to do it. But then in 2017, I really just locked in and was like, I feel called to do this, and I'm going to go on the offense to do it. So it's kind of a long-winded answer to the brand question, but attacking your dreams has really become that brand, because I think I think fitness can teach us a lot about your walk with the Lord. I think it can teach us a lot with building brands, even, you know, building your business, because fitness is a discipline. Like, it's a daily discipline, like how you eat and what you do in the gym.
One that I don't have currently.
But you're gonna get on the athletic assault. You're gonna start it. Hey, I was waiting for that. Oh, here we go. You're gonna start attack your dreams. You're gonna start attacking your dreams. Man, I was really feeling that right there. All the way up. I love that so much.
Oh my gosh. So good. Real quick, or I say real quick. So so you're on Instagram. Yeah. You have a YouTube channel, but you're not on Facebook for Athletic Assault, right?
I am, but I need to get better. Let's be real.
But
external process.
But your big following is Instagram. So a lot of people, whether it's Gary Vaynerchuk or other people, a lot of entrepreneurs, business owners, freelancers hear how important and really what the opportunity is really with Instagram right now.
Yeah.
And so many people throw out, like, well, you need to do this many hashtags or these certain hashtags. And I'm not saying that's not important, but, you know, as you've been uncovering sort of the secret to quote unquote success on Instagram, at least from a follower's perspective, what are some things that you would share with, like, if a young entrepreneur came to you and said, I really want to hit it big on Instagram? What are some things you would say?
Yeah. The first 2 things are just macro things. Like, patience and consistency is everything when it comes to Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, any of that, like podcasting. Patience and consistency is the key. Like, you have to consistently show up in somebody's feed for you to grow. Like, you have to. Like, even if you're saying the same 10 things over and over and over again, like, say them in different ways. Like, you have to show up in their feed. And so that's where posting 3 or 4 times a day comes in. And then being patient, knowing that, like, hey, you're not, like, sure, you could share a video tomorrow and it blow up, but for the most part, that doesn't happen. You know, like, you have to, and
or they'll move on afterwards.
Yeah. Exactly. Or they won't even follow you. You'll get 100,000 views and, you know, gain 2 followers out of it. You know, it's like, and that's okay. Like, that's a part of the process. But patience and consistency is key. But when it really gets into tactics right now on Instagram. So when I first started, hashtags were the big thing. I mean, making sure that you had 15 to 30 hashtags was everything. You know, it's like, that was how you got seen in the Explore feed. Now Instagram has gotten a lot smarter. And they have an algorithm now, because at first it was just, you know, by chronologically, you know, who posted the most recent post. But now they have an algorithm. A lot of big words here, guys. I
feel like I'm in a spelling bee. Algorithm. Please get it in a sentence.
Can we please use this in a sentence, please? No, so now they have an algorithm. So, you know, it loads what you want to see. And so hashtags are still important, because they help Instagram track that, what you want to see. If you're viewing a lot of content that are hashtag Captain America, you know, it's like, it might, you know, show up better in your Explore feed. Yeah. But really, right now on Instagram, it is posting 3 or 4 times a day, showing up in their feed. Stories are massively important. I mean, doing locations on stories, having hashtags on stories, massively important.
Just for that, being at that front of the storyline.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So, and that's the biggest thing. You know, when you open up, what's crazy to me is when you open up the Instagram app, like you can look what Instagram cares about the most. Like you see that stories is on top. Like that's what's on top of the Instagram feed. And so stories are massively important to them. But also I will say this, engaging in other people's content is super important. And you guys have probably heard this before, but like going on to somebody's post and leaving a comment that is valuable. You know, you get posts all the time. Like you'll post something and somebody will be like, "Hey, peep my page right here." You know, it's like, seriously, like get out of here. You know, it's like, like that stuff. And you can do that. That's fine. But like that stuff's not going to grow. That stuff's not going to grow your page. Yeah. But if you go onto somebody's Instagram post and you leave a comment that's valuable, like then you can really grow your brand. And it's doing, again, the patience and consistency take time. If you want to grow on Instagram, you got to put in some time. Like it's got to be 4, 5, 6, 7 hours a day. Like, because that's what it is. Like, and when I start going hard on YouTube, like that's what it will be. It will be 4, 5, 6, 7 hours a day on YouTube, making content, engaging in other people's content. Like, because that's how you grow. That's how you grow on social media. So, because it's the biggest like networking place ever. And so if you're not like, if you just think, it's like if you ever go to a party or something and somebody's just always talking, like, and like I feel like I'm doing on this podcast right now, but they're always talking about themselves. Like, oh, I went to Europe, I did this, I jumped out of a plane and skydived. You know, it's like you get sick of that in a hurry. Like, but if you're listening and then you're engaging, and you're listening and then you're engaging, like then your stuff becomes more valuable. And so it's the same thing on social media. If you're listening to somebody's content and then you're putting in, you're commenting on that post, then you can do some damage.
You're turning it into a conversation rather than a just speaking platform.
Absolutely. Awesome. And the same is true for YouTube. Like YouTube and podcasting, it doesn't feel that way because, you know, it's not, there's not as much search, there's not as much content that's just pumped into the system. But if you don't listen to your audience, if you don't listen, you know, to what they're saying, what they're commenting, like, then you won't know what to put out next. You know, then you won't know what they liked and what they didn't like. So
yeah, interesting. So how is the you know, it's one thing to have, like you said, a bunch of followers. It's one thing to kind of, I don't know, make money doing it.
Yeah.
So what's that process been like for you?
Yeah. So this is a great question because this is where I failed the most with athletic assault. Like I was patient with building followers. I was not patient with trying to start a business. And it really stifled my growth. It stifled my growth both in audience growth, but also in business growth. So last year I decided like, hey, I'm going to put out some workout plan. And I just rushed it. I just made a workout plan, put it out, made a workout plan, put it out, made a workout plan, put it out. I just tried to sell all year long to my audience. And it really killed some of those relationships. Like, because when you start asking for money, like your relationship changes, like it does. And so I'll say this, it is not a self-sustaining business right now by any stretch of the imagination. And that is totally due to my rush on trying to start a business. And so now I'm stepping back. I'm giving workout plans for free now. And the reason for that is to, one, give more than I take again, you know, start building up that relationship again of like, hey, like I'm sorry, I went heavy sales. Like I went heavy, like I want some money. And I was wrong.
I'm all the way up.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Gets me every time. I'm never ready for this.
It's so great. But I went all in on selling. And so it's almost like apologizing for that and saying, hey, like, here you go. Like, I'm really sorry for that. And on the back end of that, I'm going to start doing more group coaching. And I think this has always been the plan. And I should have never gone into trying to sell workout plans because my whole plan is to build a community that somebody has some backup when their back's against the wall. Like they have some reinforcement of like, hey, you can keep going. Like whether it's business, whether it's your marriage, whether it's fitness, like, hey, I want you to know that you've got 100 people, 1,000 people in your corner backing you up. And so what I'm going to start rolling out this fall is athletic assault teams. And so I'm actually collecting some people to walk through the beta for that. And so what that's going to be is group coaching. So it'll be every month. You'll get a workout plan. You'll get like some diet tips and stuff like that. But the biggest part of it is a Facebook group that will have live streams every week with me. And I haven't fleshed all of this out yet, but really that is going to be my business model moving forward, is building teams of people, because anytime you try to rush for money, it always pulls you back. I did a network marketing company my freshman year of college. Thought it was a great idea. Put $750 into it and lost it all. Because anytime you rush for money, you're like, it's always a losing strategy. And so the same is true when you're trying to start a business. Me rushing for money early last year has stifled me all the way into this year. And so, yeah, it's a huge, like when you're going to, and I'll say this, when you're going to ask, like, it's not wrong of you to sell a product or sell a service to your audience. You should be doing that. Like, you know, if you're trying to build a business, you have to sell some stuff, you know? And so, but when you're doing it, like if you're trying to just get money, then that's the wrong way to go. But if you're trying to help your audience, if that's a product that's going to help your audience, then that is where you need to go all in. Like, and that's where I feel like athletic assault teams is going to be far better than just giving them a program. Like, this is going to provide the value that I've always wanted to provide for my audience. So that's where I'm moving to.
Yeah,
so,
cool.
Yeah.
So with that, and you can use examples of other stuff too, but how do you make it, like, what's your thought process and your mindset when you go through those low times like that, or times when either you failed or things just aren't going, you're not seeing the results that you want, even though you're putting in work? What is your kind of like mindset and thought process through that?
Yeah, that's a great question. Really, my thought process, like when I fail, for a while, it was a real struggle for me. Like I really struggled with failure because, you know, all I had done is school in my life. And so when you got an F on a test, like it was a bad, like it was a bad thing, you know? So it's like, but really realizing like over the last year and realizing that failure is what is going to propel me to success. Like, taking a step back and like me seeing now that trying to sell programs all last year, like, was a huge failure, like, is going to help me create athletic assault teams. And so really seeing failure as the stepping block to success. And that's hard to do. Like, that is not something that the first time you work for a week on a video and you put it out and nobody watches it, like, that's going to be freaking sucky. Like, and it's happened to all of us. Like, you know, it's like you've worked on weeks and weeks and weeks for video content and like all of a sudden nobody wants to see it. Like, that sucks. Yeah. But it's realizing like, okay, you have to see everything from a learning perspective. And if I put out a YouTube video that gets 88 views, like, that's okay. Like, it's okay. Like, I had somebody ask me the other day, like, okay, you have 750 followers on YouTube, but you have 26K on Instagram. Like, what the crap is wrong? Like, you know, it's like, and I had to be like, I just haven't figured it out yet. Like, I haven't figured out YouTube yet. You know, it's like, and that's okay. Like, it's a learning process, and it takes time. Like, the first time you put out a video, you're gonna be so excited, so freaking excited. And y'all know this. And if nobody watches it, you're gonna be devastated. And
when it tanks.
When it tanks. Yeah. I mean, but really, like, when it tanks,
it's your
like,
first video.
It's your first, exactly. Nobody knows who the crap you are. Like, it's your first video. Like, nobody cares right now, and that's okay. And
that's such a huge, important lesson, I think, also for your target market of like young people. Like, failure is such a daunting thing.
Yes.
That everyone has to get to that point of like, I'm gonna walk up to this line. And am I going to face this failure or I'm not going to cross?
Yeah.
Like that whole, like you saying, I'm going to be all in on this.
Yeah.
I think all of us have gotten to that point where you're approaching something big and you're like, I want to step into this. and fear just kind of holds you right there, and you make all the excuses, and then eventually you have to take that step into it. Realizing not that you're going to step over that line and be good and like, I got this, but you're going to make something and it's going to get crapped on and you're going to do horrible at first because it's the first time you've ever done anything. And then you're going to have to figure it out.
Exactly.
We live in a world of viral hits, right? Everyone wants to be like the next. Like we see these random videos of like kids doing silly things that have like 25 million views or whatever. And so it's interesting. Yeah, I mean, you preaching patience. Just I know all of our own personal stories is every single business we're trying to grow. I mean, we're still in the midst of it. We've all been going for several years, and it's just that one next step at a time. It's that next client. It's that next whatever it is. It's so important. I mean, if you're a viral hit, good for you. That's like one in a billion. I mean, they're so rare.
Even those viral pieces of content, they put in works for weeks, months, years, like in advance of that. Like those viral pieces of content, like I love it. Like when Ninja, I don't know if y'all know this, but Ninja played video games with Drake on Twitch. Like everybody was like, oh my gosh, he just got so freaking lucky. Well, no, he had been playing video games from the time he was like 8 years old, like in front of an audience, like for tournaments. And then he started Twitch. He was not even close to that big. Then he got freaking good at Fortnite and Drake started watching him and then his opportunity presented itself. It's like, and so it's like even those viral pieces of content, like they were years in the making. You know? And so,
and we were just talking about over lunch, we were talking about like people like Dude Perfect. Like, I mean, theirs was kind of a, theirs was kind of a fluke of like, post this for fun, but they're smart enough to realize
their timing.
Whoa, people like this. I mean, and they've got a Nickelodeon TV show and they were going on tour. I mean, they like took they are smart. These people are smart business people. They're not just lucky. You're absolutely right.
Think about them. In 2005, 2006, they put out their first video or whenever it is. It's like early YouTube.
Backyard
trick shots of their Texas A&M home. Like that's where they're shooting that video. Probably shooting it on a camcorder, not even nearly as good as these. Like, not even close. And then they're going to tell their family that like, hey, the college we just paid for, like, we're not using that. We're going to make trick shot videos on YouTube. Like, that's going all in on what you do it
for so long before it even catches on.
Oh, 100%. And now look at them. But that's going all in on something you believe in. You know, and so that's a great example of that. Because it looks like a fluke. It's like, and they were early in the process, so that helped a lot. They were early on YouTube, so that really, really helped them. But the work that it took to get to where they are now. I mean, they put out a video. I was watching one of their videos yesterday, and it had like 45 million views. Now they put out videos and they get 3 million views in like the first day.
But they did exactly that. They did consistency, and they were patient. And they just waited and just kept doing what they were doing, make sure that they were excellent at it. Eventually it paid off.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So. What's a piece of advice that someone's given to you specifically related to being a business owner, being an entrepreneur that's sort of stuck with you that you would share with somebody?
A good question.
Of course, I asked it. So of course, it's a great question.
Fantastic questions.
I love my questions.
I actually don't know. I don't know if I can really answer this. I don't know that somebody specifically, because I'm kind of navigating a new world for me and my family. Like my mom is very big on Facebook, like has really used Facebook as a platform. And I got to give some credit to my parents. Like they just believed in me so much, and just went all in on that. But like, I don't know that somebody looked at me and said, hey man, like, if you do this and that, like then you'll be a business, then you'll have a business, because I'm navigating new waters. Every time I tell somebody that this is what I want to do, like it's still like in Arkansas, it's still very much like, what? It's like, that doesn't make any sense.
But you need to make money.
Yeah, exactly.
How are you going to?
Exactly. I mean, like, and that's everybody. And so, I don't know that I've received any piece of advice, like from somebody about business. But I will say just the process of building the business has really been my best advisor. And what I mean by that is like the process of realizing, like right now, like I'm in a state where I'm not as consistent as I want to be with athletic assault. Like, and realizing, like, I know for a fact if I stop what I'm doing right now and go all in, Like, I know I can grow. I know I can build a business. Like, that's because of the process that I've had of going, when I went all in and when I just consistently went all in, all of a sudden things started clicking. Like I said, with the first 6 months of Instagram, like, I was doing it from March to the end of that year, and I probably ended the year with like 2,000 followers, so it's like, that was 9 months of going all in on it. It's like, and ended the year. I mean, like, that's great. Like, but when you're posting 3 or 4 times a day, spending 4 or 5 hours on Instagram, it's pretty annoying to look up there. But really, really knowing the process of, like, I learned so much in that season of like, oh, wait, no, this is like a snowball. Like, you've got to roll it, and it starts out real small, and you've got to just keep rolling it until it gets real big. and so I would say the process has been, that's kind of a weird answer to this question, but I'd say the process is the biggest advisor that I've had when it comes to building a business through social media.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, experience is key.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and there's no magic. I mean, if there was a great quote, we would have loved to hear it.
Sorry,
because we want to learn from it.
Sorry, I hit you with no attack your dreams.
That's the quote right there.
Let's be real here. That's the only quote that you guys need to remember today. I think your dreams.
I think the entire podcast is just going to be a loop of that over and over again. That's going to at least be one of the little Instagram segments. It's just like it would be you saying that over and over again.
And it would be the most valuable piece of content.
It probably would be.
We'll get that up for you and tag you in it so you can just be rolling that on Athletic Assault.
Hey, dude,
Sorry, Athletic Assault followers.
I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm going to put you guys on so much because like, when I say that I love this, like, I love this, that what y'all are doing, because I really believe that people need to start doing this. Like, when you have an idea, like, you've got to just start doing it. Like, that's where I'm at. Like, when I have an idea, I know I just got to put it out there. And the same is true here. Like, y'all had an idea where you wanted to start a business, imperative narrative. Like, that's what y'all wanted to do. You now have worked through it to make it a podcast, and now you're going to interview, creators in Central Arkansas. That's going to grow to creators in America. Then you're going to start recording with creators around the world if you put in the time and effort. And I really believe
one day Steven Spielberg will be sitting.
If anyone around the world or around the nation wants to come onto our podcast,
I firmly believe
we'll welcome.
Like, when I say I believe that, I believe you guys are fit and ready to do that. Like, you guys,
Kurt, you're fit.
You're
not
fit.
Physically.
You're fit physically, Kurt. You can do this. I believe in you. Kurt, you are, dude.
We're
you
fit.
Need to stop shaming yourself, dude. That's the first step. You got to have positive reinforcement.
Okay. Yeah. Then here we go. Let's transition to a little thing.
Like it.
Have one of us be one of your clients.
Okay.
So let's just do a little run through of what you would coach us.
Okay.
Do your thing.
All right. First thing I would do is I would ask you what your goals are, because that's the most important. Like, if your goal is to run a lot faster, but I think your goal is to get a lot stronger, like, then we're going to be like, you're never going to run. Like, it's like, I'm never going to train you to run because I'm going to try to get you stronger. So it's like, if our goals are not aligned, then it's not going to help us. So if your goal is to lose weight, like, I'm going to then tell you that the number one way to lose weight, and what nobody wants to hear, but it's the truth, is to be in a calorie deficit. Yeah. So and the same is true for gaining weight. So, like, I'm in a process right now trying to gain weight. Like, if I want to gain weight, I've got to be in a calorie surplus. So then I would walk you through, like, hey, you know what, guys, let's stop looking at food like, this is bad food, this is good food. Like, I would start working on some mental health in that regard. Like, start looking at it as, these are calories, and these are more nutritious calories, and these are less nutritious calories. So, these have more protein, so this is going to help me build muscle. These do not. So these might be wasted calories if I'm trying to build muscle, and if I have a limited number of calories. So. Yeah.
So let's say let's say that here, I'll be one of your clients.
Hit me up.
My goal is to get stronger, maybe gain some more weight.
Yeah.
What do I do?
Let me tell you real quick.
He's like pretending like this is hypothetical, but this is like real life for him.
I'm actually asking because
this is real life. So you want to gain weight, build muscle, build strength. Biggest thing is eating in a calorie surplus. See, if you follow me for a week,
awesome. So I'm going to eat like 2 large pizzas instead of 1.
100%. Yes.
Awesome.
No, so I what's funny is I always tell people, like, if you eat a large pizza, like, okay, like you ate it, but now tomorrow let's try to make that more nutritious and get more protein, get more, obviously that's carb loading. So that's heavy carbs. So, so I would tell you, like, okay, so I would ask you what your body weight is. And then I would tell you to multiply that by 18, which is a great starting point for anybody trying to build muscle.
For calories?
For calories.
Okay,
Yeah, sorry.
gotcha.
So taking your body weight in pounds, multiplying that by 18 is a great starting point for you. Here, you can hit me up. We can do it right here if you want me to.
All right. I'm 165.
Okay, so your starting calories would be 3,000 calories. So
3,000 calories.
So you would want to eat in a 3,000 calorie. That would put you in a surplus typically. Now, everybody's different. Your fitness might be different. So you would need to track this for a month and see if you gained weight. And that's not just taking your weight once a week or taking your weight at the start of the month and the end of the month, because weight fluctuates in a lot of ways. And so you'd want to take it, every day as much as possible to see that trend of how your weight is fluctuating. Is it fluctuating up or is it trending down?
Yeah. And a month is a pretty good range to see results?
Month is a pretty good range. 3 to 4 weeks will help you kind of get a gauge on that. And so then if your weight is stagnant or trending down, then you increase your calories. So, 18 might not be your number. 20
that's based off several different things, like working out, activity level, things like that.
Absolutely. Okay. So, you're fit, yeah, absolutely. Your workouts are going to play into that. What you do for a living is going to play into that. Different things like sleep, all of that is going to play into that. And so then from that, then we would talk about your protein. So you're 165. So you need to be close to about 165. I almost multiplied that by 1.
By 1?
Let's just be real here for a second, guys. I almost took your weight and multiplied it by 1.
Oh, yeah.
If you're 165 pounds, you need to eat close to 165 grams of protein. So that's anywhere from 130 to 165.
Well, let's check with the calculator to make sure that multiplied
by 1.
Let's
double check.
Let's just, something happened and it got to like a really big number that's not real. 165, everybody. 165 times way up.
Didn't quite go there. I thought the quote was all the way up, but it didn't work.
I love it. So protein is a big thing because if you're trying to build muscle or as you're losing fat, trying to retain some of that muscle and even build muscle as you're losing fat, protein is going to be super important to you. Then when it comes to fitness, I would encourage you to train 3 or 4 days a week. Like if you're not training to be a professional athlete or a, superstar, like a movie star, and you're not on a time schedule where you got to gain 30 pounds in 4 months, you don't need to be training 6-7 days a week. You can, but you don't have to. And I think that's where some people just get so intimidated by fitness because they think they have to train 6-7 days a week. They have to go to the gym every day, and the reality is if you have a good strength training program, 3 to 4 days a week is plenty. So, and making sure this is getting really, if you can't see it, it's kind of meticulous, but doing compound lifts is super important. So that's like your squats, deadlifts, bench press, pull-ups, anything that uses 2 joints or multiple muscle groups is super important because that is going to recruit more muscle than any other exercise, which will cause you to build a lot more strength. You can lift a lot more. I can lift a lot more deadlifting than I can curling. So that's going to allow you to build a lot more strength. So that's where we would start, and then we would get you on a nice 3 to 4 day workout program that would start with compound lifts and work their way into isolation lifts. So maybe
that's
some circuits at the end.
Some good advice right there. I'm going to take heed of that. So let's switch real quick to the other portion of fitness is a big thing, but fitness inspired by superheroes. Yeah. We're all nerds here. Avengers Endgame just came out a few months ago as of this filming, and it was just announced a day or 2 ago. They're re-releasing it, which is awesome and just ridiculous at the exact same
100%.
time. They're totally just trying to pass Avatar.
100%.
So favorite superhero and why?
Favorite superhero and why is the Flash. So we just talked about Avengers Endgame.
Oh, man. Okay.
No. So the Flash
is my DC guy?
I'm a superhero guy, but the Flash is my favorite because I really like superheroes, but I got all in on superheroes when I watched the first season of The Flash. And so I fell in love with The Flash. And then from there, I watched all of Arrow, watched the Justice League cartoon from the early 2000s, and then proceeded to watch all the superhero stuff. So I was never a huge superhero fan. I was a big superhero fan, but not like I am now until I watched the first season of The Flash. And that's why The Flash will always and forever be my favorite superhero.
Who would your favorite Marvel superhero be?
Thor is definitely my favorite. I love Chris Hemsworth is the biggest inspiration fitness wise. And also I just love his character so much. Like I love how OP he is, but how vulnerable he is. Like I love the humor that Chris, especially Ragnarok. I mean,
oh my word, yeah.
He brought him and Taika, the director of that movie, just brought a different angle on that character, and it was fantastic. Like, and then going into Infinity War, and obviously Endgame. I will say this: spoiler alert if you haven't seen Endgame, but if you haven't, like, what are you doing with your life?
Yeah. Don't listen to this podcast. Go watch the movie.
Just stop right now. You need to stop listening to the podcast. Drive to the movie theater because they're re-releasing it so that they can make $40 million more to beat Avatar. You know, in that movie, you know, he's Fat Thor, and like at first I was like, I hate this. Like, I'm not even kidding you. Like, I hated it at first, but then I rewatched it and I was like, that makes so much sense. Like, he's the one that should have killed Thanos. Like, he's the one that should have ended it all and did after the fact, you know, like, and did. And so, of course, he's going to go into, he just lost his dad, lost his brother, lost his sister, like, lost everybody, and then proceeds to throw an axe in the chest because he wants to really gloat a little bit. And so it makes sense why he's Fat Thor. So everybody who's
that seemed to be the most controversial, one of the more controversial aspects
it
of
was.
it. I thought it was hilarious when I just love the shot like from behind of his long hair. Everyone in the theater was like, oh yeah, long hair's back. And then he turns around, you see his gut. And everyone was just like, I mean, there's a visceral reaction in the theater. And it was like, yeah.
Listen here, Noob Master 69. I will fly into your basement and I will. what he does to the guy. Oh, yeah. Thor, Noob Master, he's back.
I thought you.
Good.
You sounded like a crazy person at first. I was like, I have no idea what he's talking about.
Oh yeah.
Come on, it's
so good.
No, I know.
Yeah.
Dude, I love watch it when it gets re-released, Kurt.
Let's all do it.
I feel like most people gravitate their favorite superhero to the one that they remember first.
Yeah.
Like for me, it's Spider-Man. Absolutely love Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I've read all of his comics. Those were the first ones that I jumped into.
Yeah. Well, and it's the one that you can most relate to. Like Spider-Man is a lot of people's favorites because they come into superhero world when they're 10 or 11, and it's like Spider-Man's 16, 15. You know, it's like young. And it's easy to relate to him. You know, he's carefree.
Not. He is a superhero, but at the same time, like they did a good job making him a kid.
Yeah, he's got homework.
And so you're like, you can relate to him. And you're like, this.
Yeah,
absolutely. Gets his butt kicked.
And Into the Spider-Verse was just
unbelievable. That movie was over the top.
That
movie was so good. So good. They did so good on that movie.
That was just ridiculous. I mean, the soundtrack was incredible.
Yeah.
The acting
Sony make more movies like that.
Yes,
please.
Yeah, but then Venom came out the same year.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, okay. Venom was okay. Let's be real. Okay, Venom was all right.
It was not Spider-Man in the Spider-Verse.
When he says that on his Earth, he's talking to Tom Hardy, like in the Venom, like he's actually Venom. This is really hard to explain.
Okay.
But he's Venom, but he's talking to Tom Hardy's like consciousness.
Oh, yeah.
And he's saying like, on my Earth, like I was a dork like you. You know, it's like, you know, there was some funny moments.
There was,
like there was some.
Isn't Venom gonna be in the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
They're talking about him being in Spider-Man 3.
Wow.
But
but they're kind of transitioning now because Disney is getting rights.
Well, so Marvel,
or it's shared rights right now.
Yeah, so Marvel sold all of their like a lot of their properties off back in the 90s. They sold like, you know, all the X-Men, Fantastic Four to Fox. But they sold Spider-Man to Sony, and they sold like all of the Spider-Man characters. They sold Hulk to Universal. Like Marvel can't put out a Hulk film, like an individual Hulk film, because Universal owns the rights to distribute that film. So like they could make a Hulk film, but they could not distribute it. Yeah, like they could not distribute it.
So the last one with Edward Norton was through Universal?
I believe so. I'll have to. I might have to look that up. I'm not sure. But yeah. So Marvel characters are all over the place now. They just closed the deal with Fox. So X-Men are back. Fantastic Four are back. But Spider-Man and like the Spider-Man universe is still very much Sony.
Yeah, because they got like a partnership going on where Spider-Man can be in MCU, but then Sony produces all the Spider-Man movies, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So exactly. Yeah. So it's a great deal for Sony. I'm glad they did it because I mean they're making more money than they get sales on toys, things like that.
Well, and they have people creating the films that are quite frankly better at making the films than they are.
You have Kevin Feige. Like I mean, let's be real. Like that dude
he lives and breathes it.
He for what he's done telling a single story over 22 films, like through 22 different stories, like it's never been done before. Like that's crazy. That's crazy.
Incredible Hulk is by Universal.
Yeah. Okay. So that was the last one. I guess that they would do. Man. Which I guess that would be the first one that is first shared universe like MCU. Yeah. So
that's people forget the Incredible Hulk is part of the MCU.
Yeah, so like Ed Norton's Incredible Hulk is a part of the MCU. Like it's counted in the 22.
Is it really?
Mm-hmm.
William Hurt's character from that film.
Yeah, he's in it.
He's in. Yeah,
that's
2 or
his
3
first
films.
Yeah, he's the guy in Civil War.
Thaddeus.
Oh gosh, he's the district attorney or
no? He's a general.
Oh yeah,
general.
He's the general.
Oh, my bad.
General. Yeah, what's his name?
I want to say General Hux, but that's Star Wars.
That's the first thing. You know why not? Let's just confuse all of them. We don't know what we're talking about.
General Ross.
General Ross.
That's who it is. Yeah.
That's right. There we go.
That's right.
Aerosmith's dad.
I love that so much. Oh my word. I love that so much. All right. So people can find you at Athletic Assault on Instagram.
Yes. So it is athletic_assault. If you have Athletic Assault, DM me and I will take that from you. But currently it's an underscore. Then I have Athletic Assault on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, but I don't really use Twitter, which I probably should.
I'm not really on Twitter anymore either.
I know. We probably should be.
I feel like it's still a thing. I'm just not there.
It's a great listening platform.
It's a great listening and engaging. It's a
yeah.
great conversational platform.
I mean, literally,
which I don't do as much either. I really need to.
Everything that we talked about earlier about engaging and like listening to your like audience, like Twitter is the place to do that. So I just can't speak to it very much because I don't use it very often. So
and Facebook
at Athletic Assault as well. So it's facebook.com/Athletic Assault. So which again, I need to get better at that too. So and my podcast, Athletic Assault Podcast. So it's on there too. We hopefully we'll start interviewing some fitness people in the space. So we've got an interview with Mike Romaine from Superhero Jacked. So he actually was one of the first people to start making workouts around the superhero actors and actresses. And so we have I interviewed him back in, I want to say like February, and it was really, really cool. Like he blogs though. So like he doesn't do like video content. It's really interesting because there's like a whole, like, I had no idea about any of them, but like as I've gotten into it, like there's a whole like pod of us that make like superhero fitness content. And like we all do it differently, and it's kind of cool. It's kind of unique. So different platforms, different styles. Like he's a big writer, so he writes. I mean, and he writes some detailed stuff about them. Like
play to your strengths.
Sure. Oh, 100%. So, but yeah, podcast, Facebook, Instagram's my big place. That's where I engage with everybody. Hit me up on DM if you have any questions. I'm happy to answer them, and I love questions that about your brand. I know I gotta go, but I have to say this. But I love questions about building your brand. I actually had, so this is really funny, a good friend of mine, I met him through my Instagram account, and he messaged me October of that year that I started growing. So 2017, he messaged me and he was like, hey man, like I want to start like a superhero physiques, sorry, that's the name of his page, Superhero Physiques. I want to start an Instagram account, like kind of like yours, blah, blah, blah. And I just like walked him through the process of like how to build a brand and how to do that. And this dude, I kid you not, he started his Instagram, and for a couple months he was growing literally 1,000 followers a week. Or no, sorry, a day. For a week, he was growing 1,000 followers a day.
Oh my gosh.
Like, dude was blowing up. Then he had some stuff happen, and so he stepped away from it. But he's a good friend of mine, loves the Lord, and it really is very skilled in building audiences on Instagram. But anyways, I love taking questions like that because I love helping people do that. Like, I'm super passionate about it because I really believe anybody can do it if they put their mind to it, and if they're skilled in that way in communicating. Like, because Instagram might not be the platform for you. You know, it's like you might be better suited for audio, or you might be better suited for long form YouTube or Facebook content. You know, it's like, and that's what you got to figure out. Like, because Instagram's very, very raw, I would say. It's getting more raw, like, you know, with stories and stuff like that. It's getting more like you want to show who you are. And so some people aren't comfortable with that. And so you might be better suited for LinkedIn or Medium or any of those other
LinkedIn,
ones.
I feel like,
bro,
I don't know anybody who's figured out LinkedIn.
Organic reach on LinkedIn right now is exploding.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like, I just found this out like a couple weeks ago. I was like, LinkedIn is blowing up. Like, it is blowing up with B2B and B2C.
Wow. Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's also it's a unique platform, whereas like Instagram and YouTube and Facebook, they kind of have some crossover and stuff. But LinkedIn is like, it's kind of its own deal.
Well, and that's what's crazy is they started promoting more content, because LinkedIn used to be just a job, like you just search for jobs.
Just like resume,
things like that. Yeah. But now they started like promoting content around it. And so it's like, it's really blown up. I really need to step up my game. I'm trying to figure out how to, like, for you
jump
guys,
into that space.
You guys would kill in LinkedIn.
Yeah, we
like,
really should do more.
You guys would murder LinkedIn. Like, if you created content.
Well, not murder.
Not murder people, but murder LinkedIn.
Slay?
No, slay. That's better. You would slay on LinkedIn. No, you guys would literally kill it, because your content that you could create for small business owners would be bonkers. Of how do you create it? Like, and you create your content that you give so much value about how to create videos for small businesses on your iPhone. Like, 5 tips for creating a video on your iPhone, 5 tips for putting out your first video on YouTube, putting out your first video on Facebook. Then hopefully on the back end of that, you've given so much value, you've built an audience. On the back end of that, there's some people that are like, hey, that's great. I really appreciate all this content. I'm at a point now where I'd rather just hire you. You know, it's like, and you get business from that. And that's how you do it. I mean, you give more, and that's why I started giving programs out, because I give more value, and I know in the short term, it's not the best financial decision, but in the long term, it's going to be a huge financial decision. So
long-term thinking.
You guys would kill on LinkedIn.
I love it.
So that's what I got out of this podcast.
Well, what I got
Attack your dreams.
That's if there's anything I've learned, it's that. And also I learned,
I'm all the way up.
I'm
all the way up.
Connor Erwin, Athletic Assault. Give him a follow. Thanks for being on.
Hey, thank you guys so much for letting me be on. Be the first guest. I am so excited about what you guys are doing. So.
See, even if he wasn't gonna be the first guest, he is now, because he said it 5 times.
So many times. He has locked that spot.
Do you know how strategic that was? Like, do you understand that I came in here and found out that you recorded with earlier? I was devastated. Didn't show it. But I knew I had a strategy in place to make sure that I was the first guest on this podcast.
Oh my God.
So
you nailed it. You got it. You've locked that position down.
I have locked it in, because now if you post it in the second episode, one, you're going to make me look like an idiot, which is fine if you want to do that.
But now what we're talking about, we're all going to look like idiots.
Yeah, no, we're just going to be like, yes, episode 2.
I did it, baby. I freaking did it. That's how you attack your dreams, everybody. You attack your dreams. You go on the offense. You don't sit back and wait for Kurt and Lucas to decide that they're going to make sure that, you go after it. You say, I'm going to be the first guest. And then you just keep saying it over and over again. And then all of a sudden you convince Kurt to accidentally say it. Now he's got to make it. And the rest is history. Now you're the first guest. And when they get 87 episodes in and they're interviewing somebody like Steven Spielberg, guess what? I'm going to repost that podcast of me on their podcast. So, boom. That's how you do it. Attack your dreams.
Love it. He's Connor Erwin.
Attack your dreams.
Thanks for being on, buddy.
Thanks, man.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me.